The Chuck E. Cheese Massacre. On December 14, 1993, a Chuck E. Cheese in Aurora, Colorado was closing for the night. It was just before 10 p.m., and 5 employees were finishing their normal shift routines after a late-running family birthday party. Sylvia Crowell, 19, cleaned the salad bar. Ben Grant, 17, vacuumed the carpeted dining area. Colleen O'Connor, 17, assisted with closing duties. Bobby Stevens, 20, stepped outside for a smoke break, and the night manager, Marge Kohlberg, 50, remained in the office, counting the day's receipts. Outside of work, each of them were living ordinary lives. Sylvia was balancing her full-time job with classes at Metro State and even went shopping with her best friend, Carol Richens, that same day. Before clocking in her shift, Carol shouted, "I love you," as she left. Ben is a high school junior and a member of his school's wrestling team. Colleen was distracted that night as she had recently discovered on her break 3 hours before that her parents were gifting her a car. Bobby wasn't supposed to work that day, but he needed the hours and cash, especially since he had a 7-month-old baby boy at home and the holidays were fast approaching. Marge, the night manager, acted like a mother to the crew and recently moved back to Colorado from California with her husband Mel to escape the violence in Southern California. All of them were expecting to leave within a few minutes to return to their homes and livelihoods. What they were not expecting was a monster lurking in the dark. Just an hour before, around 9 p.m., 19-year-old Nathan Dunlap entered the Chuck E. Cheese and ordered a ham and cheese sandwich and played an arcade game. Nathan had worked at the Chuck E. Cheese as a cook back in May, but was fired in July after an argument with his manager over his scheduled hours. His brother Garland also worked in the restaurant on the weekends. In the following months, he had repeatedly stopped by the restaurant, but was very bitter over his firing. He intended to get even. Just before the restaurant closed, he hid inside the restroom at 9:50. After the restaurant closed at 10:05 p.m., he exited the restroom with a .25 caliber semi-automatic pistol. At the same time, the animatronic stage show continued its programmed music inside the dining room, a mechanical soundtrack playing in the background. He came up behind his first victim. Sylvia was shot in her right ear. The monster quickly moved to where Ben was vacuuming, shooting him near his left eye. Colleen saw him coming and knelt in front of him, begging him for her life. She was shot through the top of her head. Bobby, after finishing his smoke break, had heard the sharp cracks, but figured it was his co-workers popping balloons and returned to doing the dishes. After hearing a third crack, Bobby saw the monster barge into the kitchen. Taken aback, Bobby muttered, "Hello?" but could only watch as the monster, smirking and staring at him, raised his gun and shot him in the jaw. He sprawled to the floor as he dropped the dishes as they clattered along the floor. The monster moved to the office and forced Marge to open the safe. She complied and was promptly shot in her ear. He took a bag and stuffed it with $1,500 worth of cash, keychains, and Chuck E. Cheese game tokens. Upon seeing that Marge was still moving, he shot her again in her other ear. 6 .25 caliber shell casings dotted the floor as the monster darted out from the restaurant with his bag of stolen cash and lives. Except one was still alive. After being shot, Bobby was briefly unconscious and played dead on the floor. After seeing the monster's shoes walk past him, he quickly got up and sprinted out the door, past mortally wounded Sylvia. He scrambled to the nearby Mill Pond apartment complex and pounded on a door until someone answered, who then promptly called the police.
Aurora Emergency 911.
Listen, I have a man who's been shot at my house right here. He came from Chuck E. Cheese. He claims there's been a lot of people shot there.
Put another call in for Chuck E. Cheese.
He was then hospitalized at Denver General Hospital in fair condition. Sylvia was not as lucky, as she was also sent to Denver General Hospital and declared brain dead, passing away from her injuries the next day at Aurora Regional Medical Center. When authorities arrived on the scene, they found 2 bodies in the restaurant's hallway, a third in a room off the hallway, widely believed to be the showroom, and a fourth in the manager's office, with no signs of struggle. The manager who had fired him was not present during the incident. The monster had fled to his girlfriend's place, 16-year-old Tracy Lickman, after the tragedy, where they were intimate with each other. After getting a message from his mother, the monster returned to his apartment and was interviewed by the police, but was briefly let go due to a lack of evidence and insufficient probable cause. However, investigators linked him to the scene of the crime, and the authorities waited for him to arrive home. About 12 hours after the massacre, the police arrested him at 10:50 a.m. A firearm, ammunition, and other evidence were recovered. Dunlap stood trial in Colorado. Prosecutors presented forensic evidence, crucial eyewitness testimony from Bobby Stephens, who identified the killer, and a detailed reconstruction of the crime scene. Dunlap was found guilty of 4 counts of first-degree murder, attempted murder, robbery, and burglary on May 17, 1996. He was sentenced to death and an additional 108 years. Tracy, his girlfriend, was arrested as an accessory to the crime for helping dispose of evidence. Tried as an adult, she faced up to 6 years in prison, but received a 5-year sentence after a victim's relative advocated for her. With the option for early release through a 90-day boot camp, Tracy completed the program, leading to a shift in her sentence to 5 years of probation. In the years following her release, she turned her life around. She started a family and became a legal assistant and paralegal. In the years following the massacre, Dunlap attempted to appeal and motion for a sentence reduction, but was denied. His execution was put on hold on May 22, 2013, and after the election of Governor Jared Polis in 2018, his sentence was commuted from death to life without parole on March 23, 2020, following a bill repealing the death penalty, where he remains incarcerated at the Colorado State Penitentiary. Bobby Stephens survived the attack, but survival came at a cost. Over the decades, through interviews, he spoke about how the flashbacks, the vacuum cleaner's hum, the sound of clattering dishes as he was shot in the jaw, and especially seeing the flash of rage and hatred in the monster's eyes. And even though they are infrequent, they still pop up to this day. In 2019, as Colorado reignited the death penalty debate, he felt conflicted about his would-be killer Dunlap. While he believed the death penalty was deserved, he also expressed exhaustion over the prolonged legal battle and would accept life without parole for the sake of closure. Today, Bobby is focused on work and raising 4 boys, yet he has never forgotten the tragedy he narrowly escaped. Every time I seem to move on with my life, I move past everything. It's in the back of my mind, because you can never really truly forget, but you can place it aside and not have it affect you, he said. But it seems like every time I do so, something happens, and it gets stirred back up. The Chuck E. Cheese location closed on April 20th, 1994, shortly after the massacre, and presently, a Panera Bread has taken its spot. Fast forward to 2014, a small indie horror game appears online, Five Nights at Freddy's. Some fans and commentators, including famous YouTuber MatPat of the Game Theorists, in his first FNAF video, out of dozens, point out parallels between FNAF and the Chuck E. Cheese massacre. Both are pizza-themed restaurants that feature animatronics that perform for kids. Both take place in the year 1993. The missing children in the animatronic suits are the victims. Golden Freddy is a special animatronic who appears and vanishes at will, mocking his possible killer, likely inspired by Bobby Stephens, and is also the reason why Golden Freddy is in the kitchen. In the game, Phone Guy says to play dead.
If you happen to get caught and want to avoid getting stuffed into a Freddy suit, try playing dead. Go limp.
In the phone call, the places the animatronics can enter can be interpreted to be every victim. And the entire game is a nightmare to torment the killer, Mike Schmidt, possibly meant to be Dunlap. That begs the obvious question: did the 1993 incident inspire FNAF? Well, not really. Despite the similarities, Scott Coffin, the creator of FNAF, never confirmed it as an inspiration for FNAF. He did, however, state he created FNAF after receiving criticism that his previous game's characters looked like creepy animatronics and leaned into that critique. With that critique, you now see the modern day franchise of FNAF through his multiple games, books, and now movie franchise. Also, the kitchen sometimes features Chica, not Golden Freddy. Now, it is quite possible he was inspired by Chuck E. Cheese to create FNAF, but not the 1993 Massacre itself. So, if this theory is false, why does it keep circulating? Well, it is most likely because the 1993 incident is the closest real-world event to the unsettling, creepy atmosphere FNAF expertly captures. It's extremely rare for something so terrifying to happen in a place meant for children. And that contradiction sticks in people's minds. And while fans and commentators may draw parallels between the events of that tragic December night in 1993 and the disturbing world of FNAF, the truth is much simpler. The connection is most likely a big coincidence, and fans dived into the possible real-world connection. Whether or not the 1993 incident inspired FNAF, its legacy remains as a haunted reminder of how quickly the familiar can become tragic. Documenting, done.